ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste, dear friends. I am starting the fourth video on the light on the teachings of Maharshi Ramana. Heading is Parmada. 29th heading is Parmada and verse is 156. Know that the world, soul and God have all seemingly come into existence only because of our Parmada or slackless in self-attention. Heading is 30th. The disappearance of otherness, and verse is 157. The entire universe composed of the five elements earth, water, fire, air, and space appears only due to our error of mistaking as I, the ego that rises from self like a spark rising from fire and which appears as different from self, whose nature is being and as identical with the mind whose nature is rising. See, anything that is non-Atma, other than Atma and Paramatma, is ever changing. Atma and Paramatma, there is no change, absolutely free from any change, any time, ever free of any change. So, this is the universal truth, absolute truth. There is no change in our Atma, no change in God. So, except Atma and God, everything is changeable. Everything is subject to change. So, anything which is changing is perishable, that is temporary, and that is unreal. Reality never changes, and reality is our Atma and God. Verse 158. The entire appearance of this world that is seen, including we, the individual or jiva, who see it, is a mere false appearance like a dream. If you keenly scrutinize the source, the real I am from which the seeing ego rises and thereby enter the heart and firmly abide there, the reality will shine forth and the appearance of the tried, the seer seeing and object seen will disappear. When mind and ego enter the spiritual heart and merge with the soul, then there is self-realization. And jiva, the word jiva means when the Atma is embodying a human body, that is known as jiva. Both prana and Atma existing in the body and it is named as jiva. Verse 159. If we attain the otherness, free knowledge, ananya jnana, that this world is nothing but our own self, seen wrongly in ourself by ourself through our power of imagination, then the delusion of desire for or fear of the world, the objects we see in front of us, will never rise again, and we will merge in and become one with self. This alone is our natural state. Verse 160. Self alone exists. Except oneself, nothing exists. But if one takes this pure consciousness which exists and shines as I to be the body, everything will assume a form and appear to exist. If one inquires, is this I only the body or is it something else? And thereby see the true nature of I, everything will cease to exist. See thus. Verse 161. If you ask for what reason is it said that if one inquires and knows oneself, this entire world would disappear? The reason is that the result attained by the inquiry, who am I, is the destruction of the unreal individual. Unreal individual jiva. Here, ego, with the help of prana, takes the form of real atma. So, here this is unreal. It is the ego here. Yeah? This takes the form of real atma. The ego, who is immersed in activity due to his taking the body to be himself. That is, since the entire world appearance depends for its seeming existence upon the ego, who sees it, and since the ego itself has no real existence of its own, when the real I is known, the ego will be found to be truly non existent, whereupon the world appearance will vanish, having no one to see it, and thereby to give it a seeming existence. Verse 162. The I, which cannot shine without being joined with the body form, is alone the ghost like ego I, the great illusion Maya. If one courageously and without fear inquires who is this I, it will become non existent, and along with it, everything else will cease to exist. If this I, the self rising ego appearance, is destroyed by the inquiry, who am I? Then everything else which till then appeared only in him, in the mind, but which was seen as if existing outside of him, will cease to exist. The ever existing whole or Purna, which then shines forth as I, the blissful existence which neither appears nor disappears, is the real self, the true import of the word I. How mind and ego are destroyed. Maharshi Ramana has given a very simple method. Sit in meditation. Ask, who am I? Here, who is the query put by whom? Ego. Am is the very existence of our reality. And this I is ego. So ego is questioning who am I? Then this ego is hurt. It get injured because it takes the form of reality, and any doubt is created, then this ego is hurt. It will retaliate. Again and again, the query is put forth, who am I? Again, this ego retaliates and it dissipates its energy. And slowly and steadily, it is weakened by the query, who am I? But make sure this who am I should not be used as a mantra. Here there is the caution word. Do not use who am I as a mantra. Just in the starting, ask who am I? And this question is put to ego by ego. And slowly and steadily, this ego will start diminishing its energy and power. And finally, it will merge with the Atma, and Atam Sakshatkar or self realization occurs. This is the way. So, just once you realize, just put the query, who am I? Then switch over. Please do not continuously carry on repeating, who am I? Who am I? Nothing will happen. Then you are deviating from the path of inquiry. Just once or twice put the query, who am I? Then switch over the gear and just visualize, I am the Atma. I am the self. And be aware of this. I am the Atma. I am the Atma. Just concentrate and just beware of continuously be aware of this fact that I am the Atma. So this is known as self-attention. Self-attention means abiding in the self, attending to the self. Love your Atma. That is the divine love, my dear friends. Divine love is nothing but loving your Atma. Atma and Paramatma same. So loving Atma means you are loving God, and that is known as the divine love. Divine love. So love your Atma and enjoy the bliss of divine love. Your Atma is the bliss. Your Atma is the eternal peace. Your Atma is the divine love. Love your Atma, love your God, and you are in the process of divine love. And there is bliss, there is peace, and you will slowly progressing towards self-realization. Enjoy. Verse 164. The I, which is the whole, which is the true import of I, which shines by its own light without appearing due to the functioning of the five sense knowledges and disappearing when they cease to function, which is the exalted and ever unliving experience of self, which is the true nature of everyone. Alone is the one non-dual reality. It alone is true knowledge. Verse 165. This true knowledge is not anything other than oneself. It is our own existence, consciousness, I am. Why should we suffer by imagining and seeing the soul, world, and God in this knowledge? Abiding firmly as mere being, experience this knowledge correctly, then what thing other than oneself will appear there? The basic meaning of the word knowledge is God and Atma. Take it as the basic guiding post. When we talk about knowledge, that is Atma and Paramatma. Please. Huh? It is not the knowledge of your subjects you are studying in college, universities, schools, and all. No. Knowledge means knowledge of Atma and Paramatma. Heading is 31st, the destruction of the universe. Parlaya, verse 166. The destruction of the entire universe together with the space and other elements that constitute it is not the state of absolute destruction. Parlaya. The state in which the wicked ego, which rises in the form of the feeling this body of flesh is I, Abhimana, drowns in self and is destroyed entirely, is alone the glorious state of absolute destruction, Mahaparlaya. See, dear friends, how out of ignorance this word Mahaparlaya is misunderstood. In Puranas, it is written that Parlaya takes place. Arey, dear friend, this Parlaya is nothing but the destruction of mind and ego. Mind and ego are destroyed and they are merging with the soul. So it is the Mahaparlaya of ego and mind. Try to understand. Page 167. After being destroyed in the ordinary destruction at the end of an Eon Yuga Parlaya, the heaven and earth will appear again at the proper time. The state in which the fire of knowledge, Jnanagni, which blazes forth on being ignited as the churning process of investigation, who am I, pervades and shines everywhere, having destroyed the feeling I am this body, Deh Atma Buddhi, is alone the absolute destruction, Mahaparlaya, because the ego, which is thus destroyed by the fire of knowledge, Jnana, will never appear again. The I which continues to live, this is verse 168. The I which continues to live even after the mind has died as a result of the above said inquiry, who am I, is indeed the supreme reality Brahma, which alone exists after the universal destruction. The mind expanding as everything having risen from the heart, that is the mind slipping down from the true state of Brahma due to inadvertence or lack of self attention, that is Paramada, and thereby becoming the cause for the creation and sustenance of the false appearance of this entire universe, is not the state of true power. The mind merging and abiding firmly in self is alone the true state of supreme power. My dear friends, you read the scriptures, holy books written by Swami Vivekananda or Ramakrishna Paramahansa or Maharshi Ramana or Satya Sai Baba. My dear friend, nowhere you will find any difference, any deviation from the absolute true and absolute knowledge. I have read thoroughly the books by Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and Maharshi Ramana and Satya Sai Baba. Side by side, I am giving videos on the holy books written by or on Satya Sai Baba. You will find the similarity between the books of Baba, Maharshi Ramana, and Paramahansa. I have started making videos on the teachings of Maharshi, teachings of Satya Sai Baba, and very soon I will start simultaneously the videos on the books of Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Vivekananda, and you will find how they are similar. That is the beauty of Hindu sages, because they they abide in the absolute knowledge. So there is no change. They do not deviate from the actual path. So dear friend, please, you have my channel subscribed, and you will get all the videos either for this Ramana Maharshi teachings and Satya Sai Baba teachings, and very soon I will be starting on videos on the teachings of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. So this will give the complete and the clear view of the Brahma Jnana or Atam Jnana of Hinduism. The supreme and truly divine power is not the power of the mind. That is Maya only. Because anything is changing is Maya, 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 which creates and sustains the false appearance of the universe. But it is only the power of self-abidance which reveals the truth that illusion Maya is ever non-existent. See, when we go towards unreality, forgetting the reality, that is Maya. When we are deviating the path of reality and enter into the realm of unreality, there you will taste Maya. Heading is 32nd, and denying the ego is the heading, and verse is 169. Your appearance as an ego, an individual soul who rises in the form I am this body, alone is the root cause for the appearance of this unreal world. If this root appearance, the rising of yourself as an individual soul, does not rise even in the least, that state will be the state of liberation, which is completely devoid of imaginary appearances of the world and God. Verse 170. If one has the ability to deny oneself and thereby to destroy the rising of the ego in its very source, what other tapas need one perform? The real self, the source in which the ego thus subsides and dies, alone is the state which is worth to purchase and attain by selling or renouncing all the three worlds. So, dear friends, we are approaching what is self-realization. Destroy the mind, destroy the ego, and ego and mind are merging with the soul, and there lies the self realization. Then you will continuously abide in the self. Continuously, you will have the awareness of the self. Continuously, you will be attending yourself. So, self attention, self awareness, and you will enjoy the bliss, you will enjoy the peace. Now, next heading is illusion or phenom- phenomenal existence, that is Maya. See, Maya is another name of confusion. Maya is another name of unreality. Maya, the other name is anything non self, not the self, that is Maya. Verse 171. Listen now to the proper reason why, in answer to those people who ask due to bewilderment of thought, why has this illusion and or phenomenal appearance Maya come? How has it come? Lord Ramana did not give a direct reply by telling why or how, but instead said, see to whom illusion Maya has come. Verse 172. He who says that phenomenal existence Maya has come into being is only you, whereas enlightened sages, jnanis, who have attained the great experience of self, never accept that Maya has come or that is now exist. Therefore, you who assert that Maya has come and exists alone are the one who have the duty to investigate the truth in that assertion in order to prove its validity. Investigate thus. If you first attend to yourself by investigating within yourself to whom has this illusory appearance of the word Maya come, to whom does it exist, then in the mind that has merged in the state of silence due to such attention, the truth that you exist as the mere consciousness, I am, devoid of any differentiation, diversity, or imagination, that is vikalpa, will spontaneously reveal itself you reveal itself to you. Verse 174. When the truth is known that you, the person who identifies the body as I and who raises doubts and asks questions about phenomenal existence, about Maya, do not exist even in the least, then you will know as a matter of direct experience that in no place, at no time, and in no way did phenomenal existence or Maya ever come or exist, and that the existence of the illusionary word Maya cannot be accepted even as a false appearance. Verse 175. He, the mind, who says that the illusion of phenomenal existence Maya has come into existence is himself an illusion Maya. Therefore, the one path of self-attention which puts an end to the mind is alone the means that the pure jnana guru Sri Ramana Bhagwan has bestowed upon us as the apt medicine to put an end to all the arguments that arise about the phenomenal existence Maya. This Maya is confusion. 176th verse. Even though our Guru has instructed us, see who am I, people of dull intellect ask, Why has this world and the pleasures and pains herein come into existence? Instead of investing who am I within themselves, only for such dull-minded people who ask, thus the Guru and the scriptures say, ah, that is all illusion, Maya. Verse 177. But since people of pure faith who sincerely engage in the practice of self attention as instructed by the Guru, drown in the true consciousness I, by turning their attention again and again toward the false itself, the mind wherever it rises to raise any kind of further questions, this task of Maya is not intended for them. Heading is 34th. Doubt. Who is the doubter? See, remember, doubt is created by the ego. Ego is the doubter. Because unreal things will have doubt and doubt. Because their existence itself is in doubt. Maya, mind, ego, they are doubter, and their own existence is in doubt. So they are the doubt. Verse 178. Do you merely want an apt reply to the doubt that has come to you? Or do you wish to attain the state in which no doubt can ever rise again? Know that to become pure consciousness in which there is no place for any doubt to rise is alone the state that is acceptable to wise people. Verse 179. Even though one doubt that has come to you is removed by an apt reply, another will spring forth in your mind. If you have a liking that such a nuisance should not rise again, investigate within yourself from where does this doubt arise and who is doubting. Verse 180. Doubts arise only about objects other than oneself. See, I told you. There is no doubt about real entity. Doubt is only by unreal entities, and who are the doubter? They are also unreal. Unreal doubts about unreal entities. Because doubt itself is what? It is non-existent. Okay, it is unreal. Real things is not to be doubted. Where the question of doubt rise only for unreal things. And who raised this doubt? Unreal things. Very simple. If one mistakes this body's existence to be one's own existence, then innumerable doubts will arise about the world and God, which appear to exist only when the wrong identification, I am the body, rises. But if one knows oneself to be self, the one real existence, then no doubt will arise about anything. Verse 181. Before this doubt, am I this body or am I something else, is removed, why should one raise doubts about other things? Know that the only inquiry that is worthy for wise people to undertake is to turn within and scrutinize in oneself, what am I? Verse 182. Whatever doubt may rise, it cannot rise without you, the one who rose first and who then only raised it. Therefore, the original doubt, namely that of not knowing who is this you, is alone the root of all doubts. Here, this you is talking about, this is ego. Because the doubt is raised by ego, not by Atma. Doubt is ego. Because ego itself is unreal. And unreal is doubtful. So unreal will talk about unreal only, that is also doubt. But see, unreal will not be able to recognize the real. Please try to understand. Real can be known by real only. Real cannot be known by unreal. Atma cannot be known by mind when it is in the impure state. Pure mind, sattvic mind, that itself is Atma. Only it can recognize Atma. Please try to understand this simple thing. Impure, impure mind cannot recognize, cannot see, cannot notice the existence of Atma. Only pure mind, that is in reality Atma itself. So pure mind and sadbuddhi, wisdom, pure sattvic intellect can recognize Atma. Verse 183. Until this first doubt, who am I, is cleared, giving replies to the other doubts raised by you would be just like plucking the leaves that grow on the branches of a tree, because they will sprout again and again. If you cut the root of the tree, they will not sprout again. Similarly, if you root out the ego by scrutinizing who am I, no doubt will arise thereafter. I tell you how. Sit in meditation, have positive affirmations. All my negative energies are going out of this body for 10 minutes. Just have these affirmations. Concentrate. I am being cleared of all the negative energy, all negative thoughts, all negative sanskaras, all negative vasanas. Slowly, a sort of current is rising above in the upward direction through the Susumna Nadi, and it reaches the highest point, that is Brahmarandra, Sahasrara area, and this negative energy is going out of this body. Then slowly visualize, I am receiving all divine grace, divine cosmic energy, positive cosmic energy, divine powers, divine energy from the holy souls residing in the Devbhumi Himalayas. You will realize that colorful waves are entering your body through the Sahasrar, and slowly these divine powers, divine waves are descending, starting from the Sahasrar, Aga Chakar, Vishuddhi Chakar, Anahat Chakar, Manipur Chakar, Swadhisthana Chakar, and Muladhar. And each and every cell of the body is filled with this divine vital force, prana shakti, bliss and peace. Dear friends, then start affirmation. I am going deeper and deeper and deeper to the spiritual heart and thereby merging with the soul. Here, I is ego, I is your mind, I is your unreal Maya. So, Maya, mind, and ego are directed to go to the spiritual heart and merging with the soul. So very, very simple, dear friends, very, very simple. Have faith. This is the Brahma Gyan of all Upanishads, Vedas, and sages. Baba says the same thing. Maharshi Ramana has told the same thing. Ramakrishna Paramhansa, Swami Vivekananda, all the Advaitic Vedanta sages, Vedic sages, they have clearly told this. Now, verse 184. Doubts arise about the reality of the world and God only because of one's error of not knowing the reality of oneself. When one's own reality shines as self, the real I that is devoid of all other thing, what doubt can rise? Verse 185. No doubt rose about anything when you were asleep, but when you awake up from sleep, you rise as a person feeling, I am this body, I am an individual. That person who rises here in the waking state is the doubter, that's your ego. He did not exist in sleep, but didn't exist in sleep. Therefore, you who existed even in sleep are not the doubter. That is the Atma. So, who is doubting? Ego. And during sleep, ego and mind are non existent. Only during dream state, mind plays its part. Verse 186. The doubter exists only in the waking and dream states. This doubter ceases to exist in sleep. Did any doubt rise to you who existed at the time that you who existed even in sleep is alone the real you? Verse 187. The existence of the doubter is itself doubtful because ego, mind, Maya, they are themselves doubt. So anything they think about is doubt only. They are raising the doubts. But your existence is the unique existence which is devoid of any doubt. He who rises feeling his body to be himself is the doubter, but you are the space of pure knowledge. Jnanakasha, Jnanakasha. In the state in which you thus shine as the space of pure knowledge, what other thing exists for you to know? Verse 188. Know that it is only for this reason that Sri Ramana Sadguru, the embodiment of wisdom, jnana, and grace, who has taken us as his own, replied to all the questions asked by his true disciples who had taken refuge in his feet. Doubt who is the doubter that asks these questions. So, grace, our Atma is giving us the grace. Because Atma and Paramatma is same, there is no difference. So we are receiving grace from our self, real self. Heading is 35th, the leaning that should be learned. The learning that should be learned. Verse 189. One's learning to abide as the indestructible existence consciousness I am, having known it to be different from the existence of the body, is alone true learning, the supreme science or paravidya. So, the knowledge about Atma and Paramatma is paravidya, and all secular knowledge is apravidya. Other than paravidya is known as apravidya. Abiding, thus having clearly known this existence, consciousness, and having thereby subsided in self, is alone the state of true knowledge, jnana. Verse 190. Even though one's mouth is dumb, that may be an obstacle to one's speaking, but how can that dumbness of mouth be an obstacle to one's eating and filling one's stomach? Similarly, even though one has not at all studied and learned the scriptures, that may be an obstacle to one's delivering long and learned lectures, but it cannot be an obstacle to one's enjoying the true happiness of self, because to abide permanently in self is easy. Verse 191. The greatness which one attains by learning all the arts and sciences, the 64 kinds of mundane knowledge or apravidya, is only like a very valuable gem which one has acquired in dream. In the true awakening, the state of absolute oneness, Kaivalya, which is like one's awakening from dream, all that mundane learning will be found to be useless and unreal, like the blueness of the sky. Verse 192. All the knowledge which one learns by studying countless scriptures is nothing but a great store of thoughts and tendencies, vasanas. The pure, adjunctless, and contentless knowledge I am, which remains as silence when one has completely discarded all those thoughts and tendencies, is alone true knowledge. Therefore, know that all one's learning more and more is only ignorance. So, silence is a very, very important. What is silence? People misunderstand this word silence. Not speaking with the mouth is taken as silence. No. Silence is expression of thoughts, ceasing the arising of thoughts from the Atma is known as silence. People take Maun worth, they stop speaking and they say, I am keeping Mauna, I am keeping silence. But this is not true. Unless you stop thinking, you destroy your mind, you cannot achieve silence. The silence is thoughtlessness. Verse 193. The knowledge of one's own self, I am alone, is true knowledge, jnana. Whatever knowledge one has acquired of anything other than oneself is only ignorance, jnana. Know that all that is seen by one who has first known himself will not appear to him as different from himself. Verse 194. Know that making effort to achieve an inward facing attention which will increase the clarity of self awareness instead of driving the mind outwards with great force in order to acquire the useless learning of mundane knowledge or apravidya which will cloud and destroy that clarity is the truest and highest learning pravidya. Heading the destruction of our rising, that is 36th. The destruction of our rising. See, our rising means mind and ego. See, Atma is just witness without any activity. Whatever activity is, it is by our ego and mind. So, because that's why Atma is pure sattvic. Wherever there are activities, then that is Rajasic Pravritti and Tamasic. Sattvic means free from activities. Verse 195. Seeing the world which appears only due to our error of not knowing that the rising I or ego is unreal, and thinking the world to be a very great and attractive thing, the persistently mischievous mind runs after it with great desire, hoping to enjoy all the seeming pleasures which it sees in it. But instead of running thus after the world, if the mind turns its attention towards itself in order to scrutinize and know the truth of the rising ego, it will subside with great love and will thus become one with God, who is the real self. Verse 196. Self knowledge will shine forth spontaneously only when the mind subsides. But if the mind that subsides is full of wicked and inauspicious tendencies, that is Ashubha Vasanas, self knowledge will not shine forth, and hence the mind will once again rise and become extroverted. If, on the other hand, the mind that subsides is pure, being endowed with good qualities, sattva gunas, and the tendency to simply be sat, satvasana, it will merge within with pointed self attention and unsleeping vigilance, and hence it will not rise again, but will attain unwavering abidance in the state of self knowledge. Verse 197. If the mind having subsided and becoming one with self clearly knows that being as it really is alone real happiness, and that rising as I separate individual or ego is nothing but misery, it will gain the fondness to subside in self without ever rising again, having completely destroyed the duality of likes and dislikes. Hmm, Heading is spiritual maturity, Pakwa, 37th heading. The mind will not, verse is 198. The mind will not be willing to come and follow the spiritual path until it has been repeatedly stung and afflicted by the miseries which lie hidden like poisonous honey bees in all the worldly pleasures that are sought and attained through the five senses, and until it has thereby gained desirelessness, vairagya, towards all such pleasures, This alone is the reason why God gives all the sense pleasures that people ask Him to bestow, and is also the reason why the Vedas mainly recommend the path of Kamya karmas, action performed for the fulfillment of temporal desires. No, when God bestows worldly pleasures upon those people who pray for them, and when the Vedas recommend people to follow the path of Kamya karmas, their inner aim is only to create desirelessness or vairagya in the hearts of people by making them experience all the miseries which will inevitably accompany the enjoyment of sense pleasures. Compare verse 681 of Garland of Guru saying, in which Sri Bhagwan says the injunction marry a girl is given in the Vedas in order to make one give up the desire for that petty pleasure of sexual enjoyment, is it not? Similarly, the injunctions which extol the performance of ritual sacrifices are given by the words of the Veda in order to make one gain aversion for all the pleasures of heaven and so on. Say, is it not so? Verse 199, for people whose madness of desire for the pleasures of this world has not yet subsided, who have not become disgusted with all the efforts they have been making to obtain those pleasures, and whose minds have not therefore completely withdrawn from all such extroverted desires and efforts, it will not be easy to inquire who am I, and to know the true state of self, just as a reflection of one's face will not be formed clearly in swiftly running water. Know that a reflection can be seen clearly only when the water stops running and collects itself calmly together in one place. Just as it is impossible to separate the threads of a fine silk cloth with a very gross and blunt crossbar, and just as it is impossible to determine the nature of very subtle objects with a lamp which is very much wavering due to the wind, so it is impossible to experience the reality with a mind which, being under the sway of inertia and activity, tamo and rajo gunas, and thus is gross and wavering, because the reality is extremely subtle and motionless. Wow, 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 wow. See, wherever there is activity, then Rajas and Tamas guna exist. No motion, that is Sattvic guna. Verse 200. If the liking to attain true knowledge really rises with one, it will be easy for one experience self knowledge, the state of perfect emancipation, as clearly as an amalka, crystal, or gooseberry fruit in the hand. But so long as even an iota of the liking to enjoy the pleasure of this unreal world remain unsubsided in one's heart, the real thrust to know self will not rise within. Verse 201. To the extent in which the conviction grows stronger in us that all the extroverted activities of the mind is only misery, to that extent the desire and love to turn within will also increase. And to the extent to which the strength to attend to self alone increases in us, to that extent the conviction will grow that attending to anything other than self is useless. Thus, each one of these two, namely vairagya or desirelessness towards external objects and bhakti or the love to attend to the self, is an aid to increase the other. Verse 202. Know that he who likes to remain steadfastly attending to self, knowing that self attention is far more important than any action that he has to do, than any word that he has to speak, or than any thought that he has to think, alone is a true mature spiritual aspirant Pakvi. Verse 203. Though many crores, millions of very important thoughts rise in one's heart, bliss can be enjoyed only when one rejects all of them and remains still, knowing that to be still is far more important than to continue attending to any thought whatsoever. Only by those earnest aspirants who have clearly understood this truth can real austere practice tapas be possible. Heading is 38th. Intense earnest is required. Intense earnestness is required. Just